Americans. I'm very thankful to Americans for all your support. You did a lot. I'm thankful to President Trump and to Congress bipartisan support. And I was always very thankful from all our people. You helped a lot from the very beginning during 3 years of full-scale innovation. You helped us to survive. Anyway, partners, and even in such tough dialogue, and I think we have to be very honest and we have to be very direct to understand each other, because it's very, for us, very necessary to President Trump. I'm with all respect that he wants to finish this war, but nobody wants to finish more than we, because we in Ukraine, we are in this war, we are in this battle, and battle for freedom, for our lives still. So I'm just telling that I think that we have to be on the same side. I hope that the president on our side together with us, and that is very important to stop Putin. And I heard from President Trump a lot of times that he will stop the war, and I hope he will, and we need to pressure him with Europe, with all the partners. And I think this dialogue had to be a little bit earlier to understand where we are. Like, I don't remember exactly, but like President Reagan said, that peace is not just an absent the war. Yes, we're speaking about just lasting peace, about freedom, about justice, about human rights. And that's why I said that I think so, that ceasefire, and Putin, he broken 25 times ceasefire during all these years, 10 years.
So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people, and if, I don't know, if, I think that we have to be very open. So, during a lot of years, I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But
Alright, so just watching there, that moment that has been talked about for several days, the exchange between President Donald Trump, President Zelensky, Vice President J.D. Vance, as President Zelensky did head to Washington, D.C. to meet with President Trump. It was supposed to be a very similar scenario to what we have seen President Trump do with several other world leaders, including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who also went to D.C. earlier this week. And then just a few weeks ago, we saw Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also there in the Oval Office. But things got a bit derailed, a change of plans last minute. We did not end up having that joint news conference before featuring, both of those world leaders as we had seen previously. A live now look at the White House there in Washington, D.C. As we step away for another brief commercial break, we'll continue to showcase more of these live events and detail all of your top stories. Next. into live now from Fox, where we did just get a live picture into our newsroom as we're seeing Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau discussing several topics, including some of the tariffs that this Trump administration is going to impose next week, also the flow of fentanyl. Now, we would bring it to you in full in its entirety. However, a lot of it is in French. Some questions are in English, but it goes back and forth a lot during this conversation. So we're going to work to get all of those remarks in English and bring them to you when we do have them all in one clean slate. I do want to also showcase this post as we continue to detail all of these international headlines. The royal family just posting this photo on X, in which you can see their King Charles meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Earlier today, we did have some remarks from the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer as he announced more funding to help aid Ukraine in its war against Russia. And then just before the break, of course, we showcased one of the biggest stories of this week, which was that heated exchange that happened in the Oval Office when President Zelensky came to meet with President Donald Trump. Now, right after all of that went down, President Zelensky did sit down with Fox News' Brett Baer on Special Report to discuss how he felt that entire meeting went and what he hopes happens going forward regarding this war that he continues to be in. I want to play out that segment for you. Next.
For the time today, especially on this day, to continue to do this interview. President Trump said after your meeting that you disrespected him and the Vice President and all of America in the Oval Office. Do you think you did? And do you think you owe an apology to President Trump?
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the invitation for this dialogue, and good evening to all your country, to all Americans. I'm very thankful to Americans for all your support. You did a lot. I'm thankful to President Trump and to Congress bipartisan support, and I was always very thankful from all our people. You helped us a lot from the very beginning during 3 years of full-scale innovation. You helped us to survive. Anyway, we are strategic partners, and even in such tough dialogue, and I think we have to be very honest, and we have to be very direct to understand each other, because it's very, for us, very necessary to President Trump, and I'm with all respect that he wants to finish this war, but nobody wants to finish more than we, because we in Ukraine, we are in this war, we are in this battle, and battle for freedom, for our lives still. So I'm just telling that I think that we have to be on the same side, and I hope that the president on our side together with us, and that is very important to stop Putin. And I heard from President Trump a lot of times that he will stop the war, and I hope he will, and we need to pressure him with Europe, with all the partners. And I think this dialogue had to be a little bit earlier to understand where we are. Like, I don't remember exactly, but like President Reagan said, that peace is not just an absent the war. Yes, we are speaking about just and lasting peace, about freedom, about justice, about human rights. And that's why I said that I think so, that ceasefire, and Putin, he broken 25 times ceasefire during all these years, 10 years.
So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President, and I respect American people, and if, I don't know if, I think that we have to be very open and very honest, and I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to a free media. But there are things that where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians, and I think that is the most important thing. Yes, we are partners. We are very close partners. We have to be fair. We have to be very free.
I'm told that you were told multiple times from lawmakers on Capitol Hill and the White House to make today about the minerals deal and the economic deal, and then get it signed and let negotiations play out over security guarantees step by step. Is that true?
I said that we have to sign this document, and we are ready for this. And this will be the first step to security guarantees. But it's not enough. I think so. Maybe I don't know something. I don't know some details, and that's why I wanted to share it with the president, my thoughts, and to hear him again, because he has a plan how to stop Putin. And maybe, as I said, maybe it's out of big conversations, but we have to share it. This is so sensitive, just a ceasefire without security guarantees. This is so sensitive for our people. I'm speaking like a president of a people who are in this struggle 3 years, and they just want to hear that America on our side, and that America will stay with us, not with Russia, with us. That's it. But I'm sure that it will be. This is the first step to security guarantees. Europeans, we don't need to lose them. They are good allies for the United States. The United States is the most, or the biggest donator of support and of peace. But we don't need to lose Europe, and they also want to know next steps. We have to be very open to understand how to stop the war.
Right. But do you think the public spat in the Oval Office in front of the media served Ukrainians well today?
I think this kind of spat is this is not good for both sides anyway, and I'm very open, but I can't change our Ukrainian attitude to Russia, and I don't want they kill us for us. This is very, very clear that Americans are the best of our friends, Europeans are the best of our friends, and Putin with Russian, their enemies. And it doesn't mean that we don't want peace. We just want to recognize the reality, the real situation.
President Trump is convinced.
We're listening here to a conversation featuring President Volodymyr Zelensky and Fox's Brett Baer. We do have to step away for a brief commercial break. We'll continue with the rest of this exchange and interview when we come back. Live now from Fox. Let's continue to watch this interview featuring Ukrainian President Zelensky and Fox's Brett Baer on Special Report.
You will never sign a deal with Vladimir Putin. Is he right?
No, I think so. What I think, Ukraine wants peace, and we will have anyway diplomacy. We will have negotiations. I only said that I think so It's about just and lasting peace. It means that we have to be very strong at the table of negotiations. And at these negotiations, Ukraine and Russia, like sides of this war, have to be, and United States and Europe. That's what I said. So we are ready for peace, but we have to be in strong position. What does it mean? Just to know that our army is strong, that our partners with us, and that we have security guarantees. Am I not right?
Leaving the White House today, President Trump said this.
He's looking to go on and fight. He wants to come back right now, but I can't do that.
What do you make of that? Do you want to continue fighting? Do you want peace? And if he had the opportunity to go back to the White House right now, would you do it?
No. First of all, we want peace. That's why I'm in the United States. That's why I visited President Trump. And thanks for the invitation again. The deal on minerals is the first step to security guarantees. It's meant for the peace, closer to peace. That's why I'm here. And we have tough situation. To understand it is to be in Ukraine. You saw it, Brad. You was once. Thank you again. So I think that's very important to understand what's going on. But I respect my soldiers and our people, our civilians who work and support our warriors. I can't say just stop. Nobody will stop because everybody afraid that Putin will come back tomorrow. We want just and lasting peace. It's true. We want security guarantees. We raise this topic about NATO the quickest way, but not all the countries are on this side. I said, okay, if not NATO, nobody is pushing. If not NATO, let's build NATO in Ukraine. That's my position. Europeans are ready to have contingents on our territory, boots on the ground. United States thinks maybe to help, maybe USA backstop have to be just to guarantee that they are with Europeans. Look at Europe, it's strong. It became stronger, but they also want to have allies like the United States. That's what I said. I just want to understand what the peace. It's not my question, Brad. This is the question from all our people.
You mentioned when I traveled to the front lines with you last year to see the situation, to mark the anniversary of the war, and this is what you told me back then.
Will Ukrainians survive without Congress support? Of course, but not all of us. It will be tragedy for all of us, not only for Ukraine, not only for Ukrainians, for all Europe.
Yeah. So the question today is, can Ukraine win this war or hold off Russia without continued U.S. support?
It will be difficult for us. That's why I'm here. That's why we speak about the future negotiations. It will be difficult without your support, but we can't lose our values, our people. We can't lose our freedom. So a lot of people, Russians came to our territory, you know it. Russians came to our houses, and everybody saw it, video, images, a lot of things. They killed so many people. Just to forget it, just to say that Putin is a great guy? No, without us. We don't want it. That's why we speak about, everybody remembered how it was the first days of the war, how they came. Nobody wants in Ukraine, yes, of course, nobody will forget it, but nobody wants to have, again, new wave of occupation. That's why when we say, no NATO, what security guarantees can we have? I'm not pushing, we are not pressuring, we're just asking, we're just sharing very clear messages to our friends, to Americans. Right. If you stay with us, thank you so much, but let's do the infrastructure of security guarantees. Let's just share with our people, that America stay with us. That's great. We count on it. But just to share it and to say it, that's all.
How does the war end? How do you get to a deal? You're at a place right now where there is no deal. How do you get it back on track?
I think that Europe is ready for contingents and to help us with financing of. I think this is real way, because with weapon it's too long, it's not enough. We don't have enough weapon to push them out, and we don't see now. For now, we don't see really big volume of new support from the United States, but with all respect again. So for today, we'll be ready with security guaranteed. Really, when I say NATO, it's not about that we are focusing on this war. It's about very understandable infrastructure of security guarantees. And we see that no NATO countries for today, no NATO countries been under attacks.
Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, he has been a big proponent of you and of Ukraine, said this today after the meeting.
I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance, standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
So he says you need to consider resigning. Is that on the table?
I don't know if he will be happy after my words. This decision can do only people of Ukraine.
You're not going to step down to do a peace deal.
No, I was always ready. I'm not sure that is a good idea for this such proposals. But anyway, I always said if United States will support NATO, so I think that is enough for Ukraine. So I think I did all I had to do. And if somebody is not this happy with me, okay. But between us, yes, Americans vote for American president. Each European country vote for their president, and only Ukraine. With all respect to Lindsey, if I can say Lindsey, we know each other, yes, and only Ukrainians.
Democrats have had the opposite reaction to the Oval Office meeting. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut posted this: "What just happened in the Oval Office was a planned ambush designed to help a brutal Russian dictator and hurt America's security. Trump has become Putin's lapdog, and America's global power is hemorrhaging as America sides with dictators over democracy. What an embarrassment." Do you think the confrontation in the Oval Office today was pre-planned, like Senator Murphy suggests?
I don't know.
You don't know? You think maybe?
I don't know. No. I don't. I don't know about it. I think no. I think it was just a really tough situation because we've been very open, very direct.
That set you off. What made you mad? Because they said your tenor and tone.
It's not about mad. It's not, Brad. You see, how to say? When you are in the United States, and for example, president or vice president or somebody or senators, doesn't matter, big politicians, yes, when they, for example, say that Ukraine is almost destroyed, that our soldiers run away, that they are not heroes, that Ukraine lost millions of civilians, that his president is dictator, what is the reaction? It's not about me. The reaction is that where is our friendship between Ukraine and the United States? That's it. This is filling, and that's why I do not want to lose our great partners at the United States. And I just said that it's not the first time. I said it by phone, and we had some other conversations, and we had in Munich meetings, and I said, please be correct. I want to be very polite. Be correct with this number. When you say about the number, each person is important. When you say about a million of losses, we don't have any million of losses. Just when you speak about the territories, maybe some territories and etc. And I want to understand everything correctly. That's about us. Not to lose our friendship.
A couple more things. What are the next steps in your mind? Here we are today.
Yeah.
What are the next steps?
I think so. United States wanted this deal very much, and we've been not against this deal, but we wanted to understand what parts in security guarantees will take this deal and what next steps. Just again to understand for our people during the war what you don't like, even sometimes hate, surprises. It's understandable. Many terrible things this war brought to us. So we don't want any surprises. Yes, that's why we want to be very fair with our partners. And I think this deal, it was prepared by teams. It was not simple during weeks. And now it's ready. I think that they have to sign. The countries have to sign. The ministers have to sign. That's it. I don't know when they will do it. It depends on the American side.
So
exactly.
the minerals deal did not have security guarantees listed in it.
It's a part.
The security guarantees?
This is the part in the infrastructure of security guarantees. Because, for example, President Trump said that I think so that if we will be there in some productions and etc. in mineral, that Putin will never come on this territory where we are. And I said to him, don't trust Putin. Why? I said, because it's not, we respect and we believe in strongness of the United States, but I said to him that we had more than 20 companies, American companies, big companies on the territory of Ukraine, and we had offices even on temporary occupied territories. For Putin, it doesn't matter. It's American, European company or Ukraine, it doesn't matter. He just came and occupied it. That's what I said. I think this is a great idea, how to strengthen Ukraine and how to make business between two countries, how to make additional jobs for two countries. But it's not just these will not save us.
I read what the Democratic senator said, that Trump has become Putin's lapdog. Do you agree with that President Trump is too close to Vladimir Putin in your mind?
We spoke about it, and I think today very openly, President Trump, he said that I want to be in the middle, otherwise I will not put these guys at the table.
And is he right?
I want to be very honest, I want really him to be more at our side. I will explain why. Because it's not just that the war began somewhere between our countries. The war began when Russia brought this war to our country, and they are not right. And they are not right. They didn't respect our territorial integrity. They brought the war on our territory, to our families, sorry for repeating, to our houses. And they are not right. And of course, all the Ukrainians want to hear strong position of the United States on our side. And from one side, it's understandable. From another side, he wants to find some way of dialogue with Putin. But he always said, as I remember, he always said that peace through strength. And that's why I think that he's strong, United States strong, two parties together in this question, two parties always together against Russia. You're very strong to do strong steps against Putin.
Americans are worried about where the money has gone.
Yeah.
Will there be a very rigorous accounting of where the money has gone? It seems like there is some question about whether there's corruption or sold military equipment.
No, it can't be so. 100 billions we've got during 3 years.
183 from the U.S.
Now, on the paper, in the documents, yes, but we have, in fact, because 67 came like a weapon. It came through the border. It's checked and it's fixed by everybody, and we shared it not once with the American side, and 31.5 it was direct financial support to the budget. Again, it's very open. It's digitalized. It's open, free, and please, if somebody wants to check it again, we are very, very open with this.
Last thing, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Can be. Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people help to save our people. People, the first. Human rights, the first. This is very, very important. And we are thankful. And sorry for this. We wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I very count that we will have it.
Mr. President, we're honored that you kept this interview. Thank you very much for the
Thank
time.
you.
All right, so that interview that happened on Friday, right after that exchange between President Trump and President Zelensky. A live now look at the White House in D.C. We're stepping away for a brief commercial break. We'll continue with more of your top stories next. Welcome back into Live Now from Boxer. We have been talking a lot about the war between Russia and Ukraine, but another international conflict that remains in the headlines is the one between Israel and Hamas. As we are taking a live look here, this is a protest that is happening just outside of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's house, as protesters continue to call on the administration to come up with a deal to release the remaining hostages from Hamas captivity. This comes also as we know that Israel has stopped the entry of all goods and supplies into Gaza and warned of, quote, additional consequences if Hamas does not accept a new proposal to extend that ceasefire. We also have this live now picture at the hospital over in the Gaza Strip, as Hamas is accusing Israel of trying to derail the existing ceasefire agreement and said its decision to cut off aid was, quote, cheap extortion, a war crime, and a blatant attack on the truce. Joining us now in the program to discuss this further is Alex Trayman, the CEO and Jerusalem Bureau Chief of the Jewish News Syndicate. Alex, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's start with this new proposal that has been brought forth by Israel. What are the terms of this deal?
Well, it would be another 6 weeks of ceasefire, which would include all of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, as well as the Passover holiday here in Israel. And in exchange, Israel would receive half of the 25 or 26 living hostages back up front, and then the remaining living hostages, as well as any dead bodies, would come at the end of that 6 week ceasefire deal. And in exchange, Israel willing to release additional prisoners from Israeli jails.
Now, we know that this ceasefire deal, it was laid out in 3 different parts. The first phase of which ended this past Saturday, so just yesterday. What did we learn from what happened during that first phase, and what is going to be taken into account when trying to negotiate this second phase?
Well, I think that the main thing was that the first phases of the deal were put on the table by the Biden administration. And we saw that Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, came to Israel to try to push both sides to accept this deal before President Trump was inaugurated, but the terms were based on the Biden administration principles. Now, we have seen over the last several weeks that the Trump administration has taken a firmer stance with regard to the release of additional hostages. Israel feels like it has further backing, and neither the United States nor Israel feel like it's bound by those administration's terms. So now they're looking at a different formula, which would get Israel back all of the remaining hostages and at least half of those up front.
I want to talk a little bit more about this full backing from the Trump administration that Israel does have. It has been talked about extensively by both President Trump, but several members of his cabinet saying they will support Israel fully in this war. Now, what kind of pressure does that put on Hamas for them to accept the terms of this new proposal?
Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu has always said that the more pressure Hamas feels, the more willing they are in order to release hostages and do what Israel wants it to do. And even Antony Blinken in his exit interview with the New York Times basically intimated the reverse, which was when it appeared that there was more pressure coming on Israel, that got Hamas to toughen its stance in any of the negotiations. So certainly Netanyahu feeling that by pressuring Hamas, by threatening essentially to launch a new military campaign in the Gaza Strip, by withholding humanitarian aid from the Strip, that Israel's in a better position to negotiate the release of all the hostages.
We are in an in-between state right now, so to speak, between the first phase and the second phase that still has to be negotiated. So, Alex, what's going on the ground at this moment?
Well, certainly there's a lot of pressure inside Israel domestically on the government to do whatever they can to get the hostages back. At the same time, there's been a massive call-up of military, of reserves that have been off essentially for the past several months. As many as 400,000 troops have been mobilized, ready to go back into the Gaza Strip. There's talk of a second military phase, not a ceasefire phase of this war, which would last as long as 6 months, in which Israel would move from north to south once again in the Gaza Strip, moving the civilians out again into humanitarian areas and taking Hamas out of power once and for all. So yes, it's a sort of surreal in-between phase, not knowing if we're going to be in a ceasefire again for another 6 weeks or whether we're about to be in for another several months of war.
Given what we know right now through several of the reports, as in there's kind of this disconnect between both Israel and Hamas, given the terms that they want to reach to find an agreement, how long do you expect this could take before we see exactly what's going to happen next?
I think the next 2 weeks are very important here. Certainly Israel wants to get to a deal. They want to see the hostages back. Hamas wants to know what their status is. I think that within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a strong indication as to whether Hamas will agree to a deal, whether Israel and the United States run out of patience with Hamas if they do not return to the negotiating table in good faith, and whether or not Israel's going to be launching a new wave of offensive in the Gaza Strip, which will throw this country right back into the throes of war.
And that was pretty much going to be my final question, Alex, is what could happen if we don't reach this deal? And clearly we would go back to seeing what we have seen for the past few months before this first phase was implemented. But Alex, before I let you go, is there anything you feel that you need to add, something we should be on the lookout for, and that you think is important as we continue to follow along this negotiation process?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the Israeli government's position here is that Hamas needs to be completely disarmed and degraded, and that another military offensive is going to take place, and it's a question of when. So if Hamas decides at this point that they will negotiate, let's say for a 6-week ceasefire period, which would include Ramadan and Passover, and they would give Israel back its hostages, so Israel would withhold fire for that period. However, unless Hamas is going to negotiate essentially to, as one senior Israeli official called to me to commit suicide, at the end of it, there's a very, very strong likelihood that regardless, Israel's going to go back inside the Gaza Strip and try to finish Hamas off once and for all, and they believe that they have the backing of the United States to do so.
Alex Trayman, a CEO and Jerusalem Bureau Chief at the Jewish News Syndicate. We appreciate your time here at Live Now from Fox. You take care.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to step away for another commercial break here, but I do want to bring you back out live to this picture that we have over in Gaza. This is the Al-Aqsa Hospital, one that we have continued to see throughout the last several months as this war continues. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Live Now from Fox, where just before the commercial break, we did talk about what it would take within this next round of negotiations for the second phase of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. We still have to wait to see if those terms are going to be accepted, and we'll keep you up to date as soon as we learn more. Heading back to another one of these big stories that we're following, which is the war between Russia and Ukraine. I want to bring back here a photo that was posted by the royal family on their X account, and you can see here that King Charles has met with President Volodymyr Zelensky earlier today. We also know that President Zelensky met with several other European leaders, as we got some comments from British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, as well as the outgoing German Chancellor Scholz, on some of the support that they are going to bring to Ukraine as they continue to fight this war. At the same time, back here in North America, over in Canada, we did get some remarks from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, in which he speaks on Ukraine's security, but also he details some of these proposed tariffs that President Trump is looking to implement on the country this coming week. Let's take a look.
As you know, this past week we've had a number of ministers and heads of agencies, including the CBSA and the RCMP, in Washington to share the concrete measures that we've moved forward with on the border, whether it's the $1.3 billion that have led to new helicopters, drones, 10,000 personnel now across our borders. These are measures that have seen significant reductions in even the small amount of fentanyl that was passing across our borders. This is work that we are doing, as we always have, with the United States to ensure the safety of our border from illegal flows in both directions. The facts establish very clearly that Canada is not an issue in terms of source of illegal fentanyl into the United States. We had about less than 1% when we first started talking about this many months ago. That number is significantly lower than that, even now. But we all know the American administration will make its own choices in terms of tariffs. We will continue to work to ensure, to do everything we can to make sure that there are no tariffs on Tuesday. But if ever there were tariffs on Tuesday, as we have all seen, as we were ready to do last time, we will have a strong, unequivocal, and proportional response, as Canadians expect. I have now been working with Donald Trump for about 8 years. And we've managed to get a lot of big things done. We renegotiated the North American Free Trade Agreement into a deal that works well for everyone. We've managed to strengthen and see NATO grow even stronger over the past years. There's many different things that we will always look to work with the United States, while at the same time being very, very clear in direct conversations about what Canadian values are and how Canadians expect us to stand.
Martin from Sky News. Welcome to London, Mr. Trudeau. There's a lot of pressure on European nations to increase defence spending, especially because it was front and centre of this summit today. Sir Keir Starmer has announced an increase in defence spending for the United Kingdom. But as you'll know, Canada continues to not spend enough. You aren't meeting your 2% target on defence spending, and the predictions are that you're not going to do that until 2030. That's not good enough given the change of events, is it?
Well, the world has changed. The United States will always be an ally. Americans and Canadians and indeed allies from around the world have stood and fought against tyranny and fascism and Nazism and stood and died together on battlefields across Europe and in various places. We will continue to work together to build a stronger world.
Chris McVinney from Global News. You were, of course, Prime Minister during President Trump's first term, and he was adamant even then about the 2% NATO commitment. Do you think it's perhaps one of your biggest mistakes not to have addressed that in his years out of office, because he was always going to come back and press on that point again?
As I said, Canada has more than tripled its defence spending between 2015 to 2030. That was a decision that we took after a Conservative government had allowed our defence spending to slip below 1%. We are now on track to reaching the 2%, and indeed, it's not about just focusing on the numbers, although yes, we need to reach those numbers. It's about ensuring that Canada has the capacity to defend the Arctic, to be there for our NATO allies, as we are in Latvia leading the enhanced forward presence. We are going to continue to be stepping up because, quite frankly, Canadian men and women of the armed forces are respected and valued and needed in contexts around the world, and